The Knight households have nobly defended the Imperium of Man, and more generally humans as a whole, for generations. These mighty war machines hold the firepower of entire armies and are seen as relics of an age of chivalry where the nobles of the Knight houses protected the weak and the innocent from what lurks in the darkness. But what about when these massive war machines are the ones lurking in the darkness? Like most of humanity, these brave and stalwart protectors were not immune to the corrupting allure of the powers of the warp. When the Horus Heresy rolled around, the various Knight houses of the Imperium declared their sides, and the ones that aligned with Horus became Questor Traitoris, more commonly known as Chaos Knights. These Chaos Knights reflect the exact opposite of their loyalist brothers and display unnatural cruelty, malice, and the desire to dominate and destroy. But what and who are these hulking monstrosities of chaos made manifest? Why did they turn away from chivalry, and how prominent are they in the 41st millennium? Well, let's get into it. Welcome back to Warhammer. Let's wind the clocks way back to when humanity first began its long march into the stars. These colonists traveled for decades or even centuries to worlds that were, more often than not, totally hostile to them in one way or another. But the colonists had prepared for this and took standard template construct technology, or STCs, on their journeys. These STCs could craft just about anything, and the colonists fabricated the tools they needed to live prosperous lives among the stars. Included in these fabricated wonders were the first Knight suits. These suits were used for everything from wiping out native populations to harvesting natural resources, and only the most skilled and resourceful of people could pilot these towering tools of conquest. In time, the societies that grew on these distant worlds came to put more stock into these pilots and their knights for protection and leadership, culminating in the pilots eventually founding full-blown noble houses and passing down these knight suits through the generations. As the pilots spent more time in their suits, the throne mechanicums they used to pilot them brought out their more stricter tendencies. The nobles became arrogant, regressive, and authoritarian while rejecting the technological advancements the other human settlements benefited from, such as artificial intelligence and the like. When the dark age of technology reared its ugly head, many of the Knight worlds were spared from the devastation. While other worlds burned in the fires of cybernetic revolt and rampaging cyber tyrants, the Knight worlds endured. They crushed any mutation they found upon their worlds and destroyed any desperate refugees that happened to make planetfall as they fled the widespread strife. In the darkness of Old Knight, the Knight worlds regressed further into feudal societies ruled by their authoritarian but chivalric nobles, who protected them under the classic Knight oaths found in ancient human cultures. When the Great Crusade encountered these Knight worlds, most of them were brought into the fold without any issue. In the Emperor and his Imperium, they saw their code personified to the max, and they quickly and enthusiastically joined the Imperium and dedicated their war machines to the pursuit of human unification. An important thing to note is that while many of the Knight houses swore fealty to the Emperor, many also swore oaths to the mechanicum or individual Space Marine Legion, which, by extension, ensures their loyalty to the broader Imperium. However, when some of these elements declared for Horus, the Knights sworn to them declared for him as well. For many, it wasn't anything personal. They were simply honor-bound to fight for those they said they'd fight for, so they did. But as the saying goes, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. To get the prestigious honor of piloting one of these giant machines in the first place, aspirants for the noble houses are placed into isolation and hooked up to a throne mechanicum, which is the device that allows the pilots to drive their suits using only their minds. Within the throne mechanicum is housed the machine spirit and spirits of the nobles who came before, where their minds are poked and prodded by the throne to see if they're worthy and honorable enough. If the aspirant survives this ordeal, their mind is fused to the throne. Their thoughts are influenced by it, even when they're away from their suits. This is where the chivalric conditioning of honor, loyalty, fealty, etc. are imprinted upon the forefront of their minds, rendering the pilot highly resistant or immune to any deviant thoughts. But the Chaos Gods are crafty and determined to find ways to bring these heroes low. And sometimes a noble strays from this path, especially Freeblades, which are solo knights that don't belong to a noble house. These guys are often either the last of their house or have been exiled for some reason or another, and they're often tortured by the machine spirits of the throne mechanicum for straying from this noble path. Not many pilots can deal with that pressure for very long, either ending themselves or going insane, and that is where the dark gods see their opening. These independent nobles become dreadblades, sick perversions of the noble free blades that roam the galaxy on quests of justice and protection. These abominations have no legacy or house to honor, either of their own volition or because they're the last of their line, or maybe they've been captured and manipulated by dark forces, but that makes them an extremely dangerous foe. They roam the galaxy alone, hunting old enemies, interfering on battlefields, aligning and betraying Chaos Lords in whatever manner furthers their interests, the ideals of chivalry long gone in their minds, regardless of if they're aware of it or not. Sometimes, even entire lance divisions or houses can devote themselves to the causes of chaos. Traitors who align themselves with darkness usually fall within one of two categories, either part of Iconoclast houses or infernal houses. Iconoclast houses had already been slipping since before the Horus Heresy began, but the conflict only served to further their descent into madness. As the knights of these houses conducted more and more savage acts, the spirits within their throne mechanicums writhed in pain as they couldn't uphold the honorable oaths they swore to their masters, while also participating in their brutality. For the nobles, this conflict of interest played hell on their minds. Most are driven insane by the constant tortured howls of their throne, but others delude themselves into thinking that the traitors were fighting for a just cause, and that their unholy acts were justified in the name of their masters. But the self-loathing and hatred that comes from defying their oaths, however delusional the noble might be about it, is inescapable. As such, knights and their underlings commit greater and greater war crimes in an effort to feel anything else. This attempt at penance through unquestionable service leads them to desecrate entire cities and worlds in a misguided attempt to see their oaths fulfilled, all the while being fueled into more evil deeds by their corrupted throne mechanicum. These guys are meant to be the very paragons of virtue, so the nobles of the Iconoclast houses concluded that all these terrible things they were doing were actually for a noble cause, else their oaths wouldn't allow them to do it in the first place. When these nobles died and their soul joined the others in their throne, it corrupted them as well. No longer was the throne attempting to quell their notions of darkness, but it would now encourage it, sealing the deal and turning these once proud, if sometimes misguided, nobles into instruments of hellish conquest. Their only goals now are the expansion of their domains and the unimaginable levels of destruction they cause in their pursuit. Infernal houses are a little bit different. These are the guys who swore allegiance to the mechanicum, and when those nerds turned to darkness, their knights went with them. The unfortunate souls forced by the heretics of the Dark Mechanicum, or the few that actually volunteer, go through a twisted version of the ritual of becoming. In the isolation chamber, they're victim to a barrage of warp energies, vile techno-magic, and demons that further serve to bind these twisted nobles to their suits and throne forever. Unlike the Iconoclast houses, however, the Infernals aren't just doing it for the love of the game. All the nefarious deeds they do are all for the purpose of finding ways to further enhance their powers. What more can be done to earn the favor of the entities of the warp, and what gifts will they bestow if those desires are fulfilled? In doing so, the Knights of the Infernal Houses gain new and devastating abilities in demonic tech, and the heretics have more shit to pour over and enhance their own understanding of these dark magics. When these magnificent machines are turned to chaos, it's not only their pilots that undergo horrific transformations, which we'll get to in a minute, but also their chassis as well. Over time, the weapons and armor of these proud machines is corrupted by the evil energies of the warp. Once striding gracefully across the battlefield, they now lumber angrily towards their next victim. No longer giving thought to strategy or self-preservation, the mutated husks of ancient armor bound forth in reckless abandon, concerned only for their next kill. Ghostly flames burst from exhaust ports, mechanical joints ooze and whine as disgusting warp matter slithers off of them. Reaper chainswords howl as their rusty teeth bite into the hull of their noble opponent. The transformations these majestic suits undergo can take a variety of forms, and all leave them as dark shadows of their former glory. And the longer a knight has been corrupted, the more ghastly they become. As for the tortured nobles interred within, they literally become one with their throne. Their bodies are melded into it, peeled back to decorate it with a grotesque display of exposed organs and bones. Some just devolve into chaos spawn, but maintain just enough of their conscience to pilot their suit and acknowledge the deplorable state that they've allowed themselves to revert to. And maintaining these twisted renditions of knights are individuals known as idolaters. On the nightmare worlds of the Dark Mechanicum, these tech priest sorcerers conduct vile rituals in the hell forges to gain knowledge how to maintain these machines, and how to corrupt the machine spirits dwelling within. Sometimes they sacrifice people, other times sacrifice machines. The demands of the demonic powers of the warp are many and depraved, and sacrifices are made on giant cog-shaped altars, drenched in blood and mechanical fluids, for the sake of forbidden knowledge about how to transform the knights into instruments of chaos incarnate. As far as the Imperium is concerned, traitor knights don't exist. The Inquisition goes to great lengths to try and suppress rumors of traitor nobles and their damned houses, and many people just outright refuse to believe that such paragons of virtue could turn against the Emperor they swore to serve. But unlike the threat of chaos cults or even heretic Astartes incursions, the burning path of death and destruction left by a traitor knight is a lot harder to cover up. As the 41st millennia drags on and the threats of chaos become more numerous and emboldened, the Inquisition is hard-pressed to come up with solutions to the existence of these terrible creatures of malice and to control the flow of information surrounding them. But nowhere is the destruction and death of the traitor nobles more evident than the fallen worlds they rule over. Whereas these nigh worlds were bastions of serenity and peace during the tumultuous Old Night, and centers of unique learning and culture during the Great Crusade, they are now wastelands of terror. The Twisted Lords now engage in competitions of slaughter as opposed to honorable duels or feats of bravery. They constantly war with one another over who can build the greatest temple for their dark god, and they happily sacrifice the poor souls living there to further their own interests and gain more favor with the chaos gods they serve. And that's going to be it for this one, y'all. Knight lore in general is cool as hell, but Chaos Knight lore is another beast entirely, quite literally. I've got a Knight Abominant myself that I love to run with my 1,000 Suns, and while it's not the best use of my points budget, it's super cool to see it towering over everything else on the board, and it's just a ton of fun to run. But let me know what you think about Chaos Knights in the comments below. As always, drop a like if you like it, subscribe if you really liked it. Links for the social and other goodies are in the description as well. I wish you all the coziest and happiest Thanksgiving holiday, and I'll see you all in the next one. Toodles.